And we're joined now by our resident presidential historian, John Dickerson. Good morning. Thank you for coming in.
Good morning, Margaret. Great to be with you.
You know, it was just 2 weeks ago, Gallup poll said that Donald Trump was the most popular man in America. And now we're talking about calls for his resignation, inciting an insurrection. I mean, does all of this end when he leaves office?
You know, the president's son and son-in-law said that it's no longer the Republican Party, it's Donald Trump's party. So I think of your question in two ways. What happens to Donald Trump and what happens to the political market he created that future Republican politicians are going to try to appeal to? After the election, the president said the election was stolen. Republican lawmakers knew that was a lie. They knew there was a cost to that lie. But because of the political market Donald Trump had created, what Donald Trump said was true, and those lawmakers worried about blowback. So instead of a healthy political market where facts, reason, and tradition operate, this was a market where facts were whatever you wanted to be. Persuasion didn't matter. Demonization mattered. So that fills up a rally crowd, right? Politically, it cost Republicans the presidency, the House, and the Senate. Governing-wise, the founders told us this was a terrible way to work, where you have the standard for the presidency to be just what the rally crowd likes. The standard should be the one Mitt Romney said, which is sometimes you honor your voters by telling them the truth. So what standard survives? Is there reflection about the choices that were made? Does somebody stand up now against lies? Or does the market that Donald Trump created exist? And if that's the case, then this insurrection was just an inconvenience. And that market exists, and Donald Trump will have a big role in that in the future.
There's still fear of that market.
Absolute fear. Absolute, even after, I mean, perhaps even more, given what happened on the 6th of January.
Well, right, because Republicans have seen the muscles that can be flexed.
Exactly.
When it comes to, I mean, some of the extraordinary things we heard and we saw this week, you know, the president has, yes, he told people to go home, but then he said, we love you. You're patriots. He has not come out and said anything about the chance calling for his vice president to be executed, John.
You're exactly right, Margaret. This, to me, there are a lot of ways in which the president contributed to what happened on the 6th. But the example of what he was willing to trample in order to get his way is clearest in the grotesque treatment of his vice president. He says loyalty is the most important thing. No one has been more loyal to this president than Mike Pence. He has wagered his entire reputation defending the president. How was he repaid? The president said he could stop the count in Congress. He knew that to be a lie. When Mike Pence didn't do that because he couldn't do it, the president said he lacked courage. He put a target on the back of his vice president, and what happened? As sure as night follows day, those rioters said, hang Mike Pence. Hang Mike Pence. What gave them the idea that Mike Pence had done anything worthy of a hanging? Well, the president of the United States told them that. The person to whom Mike Pence was loyal. That's pretty low.
And he tweeted blasting Mike Pence while the siege was happening. And yet, we haven't heard a separation from the president. I mean, how do you put the genie back in the bottle at this point?
I don't think you do put the genie back in the bottle, because that political market is still operating that I was talking about. People are still fearful. And, you know, we still have some number of days to go in which a lot of this free-floating anger is still out there. The president's still saying the election was stolen. And that gives energy to that free-floating anger.
All right. Well, he doesn't have a social media platform on which to propagate that now, which is why there's going to be so much more focus on if and when he finally speaks to us. We know he's planning a speech tomorrow and again Tuesday to make some public remarks. But, I mean, it's hard to find any kind of silver lining at the end of this week. But there are those who, I certainly notice how diplomats that I follow are trying to explain this to the rest of the world as they watch our beacon of democracy look pretty dim this week. Have you found any hope here?
Well, when the U.S. Capitol is a crime scene, it's pretty hard to find hope. But hope is the power to be optimistic when times look desperate. And there was already a test of democracy before January 6th. It was to hold an election in the middle of a pandemic. And what happened? The country, Republicans and Democrats, turned out in record numbers. People stood in line. There was no violence. And the states changed all their voting procedures to accommodate this, and it succeeded. And they did recounts, and they were challenged. And those local officials did what is the central attribute of character. They did what they were supposed to do. They didn't do the easy or political thing. Pressure, pressure, pressure. They kept the faith. Then who else kept the faith? All the local officials in those states, then the courts. All of these challenges came. People with a political interest nevertheless did what their job told them to do, not what was politically expedient. The Department of Justice didn't go after the president's opponents as he would have liked them to do. The military kept their faith, not doing what the president would like them to do. And then Congress, after the grotesque experience on the 6th, nevertheless got together, held the vote. It took place. There is hope that can be accessed. What we need is a leader who can grab that hope. The stage is ready for them. Somebody has to step up.
John Dickerson, thank you
Thanks, Mark.
for your thoughts. Good to have you here.